Hello, everybody. Look at my hair. Give me a few minutes, please. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Learn more. Oh, hello, hello, hello. Oh, it's okay. The kangaroo fell. Oh, kangaroo is not that nice anyway. There we go. Oh, Piggy. Piggy is most important because the piggy is me. I'm a pig. So I think my chat will be consisted of talking and eating, whatever makes you feel comfortable. I'm still learning this, so give me a minute or two. A minute or two. Give me a minute. Uno momento, por favor. Ah, where's my finger? Uno momento, por favor. I'm just waiting to see what happens here. I'll start in a few minutes. Thirty more seconds. Hold on one moment. All right. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so many people have asked about my family's journey to America, and with a lot of things going on right now, sorry, camera issues. With a lot of things going on right now, I feel like this is the right time to share. Um, So my family and I are from Vietnam. We came, we escaped from Vietnam in 1978, I think. Came to America in 1979, right after the Vietnam War. And when we came to the US, at the time, obviously in 1979, 80, 81, whatever, growing up, there were a lot of people my age, a lot of kids my age, who have experienced losing their fathers, uncles, grandparents, whoever they loved from the Vietnam War. And so coming to America in the 70s, 79, wasn't very easy because when, it's not like it is now where, people hear Vietnam and they're like, they don't remember anything. But back in the day, growing up in grade school or going to high school, the Vietnam War was very fresh in our minds. Some of the kids I grew up with lost their parents or their loved ones from the Vietnam War. And when, so when you go to school and people don't, seeing an Asian face in a pool of, white people, they start asking questions. Where are you from? Whatever. And I'll be like, I'm from Vietnam. And they'll be like, oh, my dad went to the Vietnam War, and at that time their dad was probably in their early 20s or whatever. So it was just a crazy time for us when we came over and going to grade school and just meeting all these kids. At that time, I really didn't understand it because it was new to me too. I was new to the country, right? To the US, and I didn't really think much of it because I was trying to just adapt. I mean, for me, it was just adapting, learning the language, adapting to America, whatever. And it was really crazy during that time. Everywhere we went was like, oh, you're Vietnamese. Oh, this and that and that about Vietnam War, everywhere, everywhere. And for the next, I don't know, 15 years, 10, 15 years, they would talk about the Vietnam War. And Vietnam wasn't the big thing back then, right? Like, fast forward to, I don't know, 2000. So 1980, 1979, 1980, 2000, 20 years later, people forgot about the Vietnam War and they're like, oh, have you tried pho lately? Like now they're all talking about pho, right? Like, hey, it's like they just discovered pho. Sorry, I tied my hair. And all of a sudden, this is the rage, right? Pho is the rage now. So it's crazy to me how things have changed so fast and so slow at the same time. In 1980s, nobody knew what. Hey, Dad. In 1980s, nobody knew what pomegranate was, right? We had a pomegranate tree in our house, and my neighbors would come out. My neighbors would be like, "What is that?" And we would show them what a pomegranate fruit was. And now, 20, when did pomegranate became cool? Like 10 years ago, 2025 minus that, 2015. Like everybody, oh, pomegranate is so amazing. Pomegranate does this, pomegranate does that, blah, blah, blah. Like we've known for a long time. And growing up in the US in the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2025 minus 10, 2010. So it was, yeah, and now, anyway, so yeah, all the rage. Everybody's like, oh, I love Vietnamese food, blah, 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 Vietnamese food, this, Vietnamese food, that. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to me how years, 25 years just went by and we've forgotten about the Vietnam War, and now everybody's talking about pho this, pho whatever. And so my friend Deb told me I should talk about my family coming over, and I talk about this a lot, or with certain friends, because they ask me about my family's journey over here. And we used to talk about it a lot in the 80s when we first came over, and we share stories with our friends because the Vietnamese community is very small in the 80s. And so everybody kind of knew each other however, it was really weird how people found each other because you didn't have the internet, right? You didn't have email or whatever. So whoever you talked to, you would write back and say, oh, I met this person, whatever. And then, their friends would introduce you to their friends over here. And the communication would take like 30 days or something for the mail to get to you. So it's so strange to me how people were able to get by with letters and stuff. And nowadays, so back then we would wait to get the mail and then communicate with each other. So you had to learn patience, which is what people don't understand now about patience, because they get email, they get text messages, and they want immediate response, which is not something that we have learned in the 80s or early 90s before the internet came out. So I think technology really ruined people's expectations and kind of spoiled people a little bit because everybody now wants immediate attention, immediate response, where we didn't get that back in the 80s. And we had to wait for a telegram, we had to wait for letters to show up. When we called each other, there's no call waiting didn't come out until the 90s, I think. And so if you get a big busy signal when you call somebody, you have to wait and call them again another time. So I think, when it comes to people's patience, I think technology really ruined that. And I think technology ruined people. But in any event, so anyway, my family's journey. Um, so at some point before 1979, my family came up with a plan to escape from Vietnam. And a few times they were unsuccessful, and people like my dad, my uncle, my sister, my cousin ended up in jail. I was too young, so I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that somebody was in jail. They didn't tell me anything, but my mom was crying, so I was crying too because my mom was crying. So. But I knew that nobody, like my dad and my sister, weren't home, so something was wrong. I was probably 4 years old, or I don't know, something like that. But so finally they got out of jail, and we tried again. I think we tried, from what I heard, we tried maybe 3 times. And the third time was successful. Everybody had a plan. It was like Mission Impossible, where, one group had, you, person A and person B had this objective, and then C and D did this, EF, whatever. Everybody had a different plan. And one of my uncles, his job was to take me to get ice cream and coffee. He was supposed to meet friends or hang out or whatever and have coffee, and then he got me ice cream. And it was raining that day. I remember it was sprinkling raining. I had no idea. This is the uncle I never really hung out with, so I don't know why I was with him, but that was the plan. So that day, I'm like, I don't know why I was hanging out with this guy. But then we showed up on the boat, and like the port, I don't know, I was really small, and the port from the dock to the boat was probably like 12, 15 feet. And they put this 4x2 wood plank from the dock to the boat because they didn't want to be suspicious, so they put this plank between other people's boats. And so we were walking that, and it was funny because I don't remember recalling being scared of heights at the time or being scared of falling. And I didn't even know what's going on, so I was like walking a little kid. And then I met my cousins, and they were like, "Isn't this cool?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Because I'm like super small. I'm one of the youngest. I have no idea what was going on. Because I think my cousin was like, my sister and my cousins were like 8 or something. And they're like, "This is so cool." I'm like, "I don't know what's going on." And nobody told me what was going on. And then 20 of us showed up on this little boat, like a fisherman's boat. And then when everybody got on the boat, we took off. And I remember we took off at a certain point, and the communists realized that we were not fishermen anymore, and we were actually escaping. So they started shooting at us, and I remember hearing gunshots. And my grandmother, my father's mom, my paternal grandmother, my dad's side, they were Buddhists, and my paternal grandmother converted to Catholicism. And I remember her praying constantly, like praying everywhere she went. She would pray, and we would, like even in America, we would drive past a church, and she would, pray, whatever. But she would pray nonstop on the boat, and I was sitting next to her or laying next to her. We were inside the boat, and we couldn't, come up for air. We would have to hide, and we can only go outside if we had to poop or something, right? And water was getting into our boat, so when we were laying down, the boat was big enough for everybody to lay down straight, like lay down next to each other. Like, I don't, never mind. I had an image, but I'm not gonna say it. But you lay down next to each other, and the boat was that big, and then water was filling up. So I remember laying down on the boat, and water would rise up to my ears or whatever, and we were laying on in the water. And I guess at one point my cousin said we ran out of food and water for 3 days. And luckily we came upon a U.S. naval ship, and they saw us, and my dad and maybe another guy, they were able to speak English, and they were telling, the U.S. Navy what we were doing, and the U.S. Navy dropped down some water and food and everything for us, and one guy took a picture. One guy took a picture of us, and then, we had, food and whatever enough to go to the next island. And I think the next island, maybe, I think the closest island was Malaysia. I can't remember. Either Malaysia or Indonesia. One of those. I can't remember. But I remember it was a few days. We ended up in the island on the island, and it was late night. And I remember the men carrying us. We were kids. I remember the men carrying us into shore. I don't know if it was because we couldn't like walk to the island because of the water, but I remember being carried to shore. And then I later found out that one of my cousins said that the locals there told our family that if we wanted to be admitted into the American refugee camp there, that we have to destroy our boats. So I guess the next morning, my family went out and destroyed the boat so that there was no way for us to get out. And so we were able to enter the American refugee camp on that island. And my cousin also told me a few years ago that when we landed on that island, the indigenous people started approaching us, and so the men decided they were going to um, watch guard. Each man would watch guard every night. And then my cousin also said that during that time, the family went into the country or into the city, and this doctor saw us and heard our story, and he wanted to help. So he gave each family some money to start off, right? And so each of us had maybe $100 or whatever. I don't know, but we were able to be admitted into the American refugee camp, where my dad applied for a job as a teacher, because that's what he did. He taught, English. And then my other uncles did their own thing, like gambling or whatever, to win money to take care of their family. So we were at the refugee camp for a while, and then we were transferred to Indonesia. So one or the other, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, or whatever, however I made that, I don't know. So we went to another island, another camp, and we stayed there for a while until my aunt and my uncle were able to sponsor us over. I have to take my medication. And so once my uncle and my aunt were able to sponsor us over, we came over to America in 79. I remember taking a plane to, I think, in Japan or something. I remember being in Japan and seeing all these lights like Vegas. That was the first time I saw a big city and lights all over the place. And I remember it vividly, like Japan was like super loud, super, I don't know. Maybe my brother will remember because he remembers that stuff, and he was super young. But anyway, we came over to the States in 79, and we made our home, Arizona, our home. And until this day, 2025, Arizona is my home and will always be my home. And when I went back to Vietnam, probably 5 years ago, I was a visitor in my own country, and I guess a lot has changed. The people, the way they speak was super different. But anyway, growing up in Arizona, I'm glad I grew up in Arizona, because if I had grown up in California, I think my life would be completely different. And I don't think I would be as American as I am now. I don't think I would be as um, uh, contemporary as I am now. I mean, I visited California in the 80s, and it was so weird because, like, we didn't have a lot of Vietnamese people in Arizona. It was just a few of us. And If you guys know us, all of my Asian friends are from the time our parents knew each other in the 80s. And so their kids, which were us, grew up together and became friends. So we are the last generation, I guess, or the second generation of the original Vietnamese people that came over. So I think, like our parents who are still alive now, I think they appreciated that, because I went to a funeral recently, and for the first time, two of my friends' parents were like, "Oh, we really cherish, we cherish your friendships and stuff like that, blah blah blah." And before, when we were younger, it wasn't a big deal, but now we are adults. Like, we are older than our parents when they came over from Vietnam, and they see us growing up and building friendships from when we were little. And I think we carry on that tradition with our parents, and they see that. And I think they're thankful for that, because they came from hard times, and we are the second generation, and we've been able to overcome, um, and adapted to America, and also keep our tradition and our friendships. And I think they understand, we appreciate our friendships for, however long. I don't want to say however long, how long. Well, I said I came over in 79, so yeah. So we've known our friends that long, and our parents are appreciative that we've known each other. We've been friends that long, and I guess they have a little bit more comfort knowing that we are there for each other. So that's pretty cool, right? Like, your friends, your parents' friends from 40 years, and you're friends with their kids for 40 years. Anyway, I digress. But anyway, so growing up in the 80s, my parents talked a lot about, and my parents and my friends' parents, whoever they meet, we would share stories about how we came over to the States. And it was just, everybody's story is different, but almost the same at the time. There was a lot of struggle, there was a lot of drama. People lost each other. I remember my cousin, my aunt, my mom's sister, they lost their kids. And then somehow people were talking, and then we're talking, blah blah blah, oh, these kids, and then they found each other because of people talking. Like, you don't hear that now. It's just amazing how it was back then. Like, people were actually watching out for each other and protecting each other, and making sure that, back in the day, like, if you knew this person or whatever, they would make sure that you make contact with that person, and they would protect you. Like, unknown people would protect you, because they knew which family you came from. When we were growing up, people would be like, who are your parents? Like, they don't care who you are, they want to know who your parents are. And if they knew who your parents, they would protect you, because they knew who your parents are. And then we would trust these people, because that's just how we were growing up. We would trust them. because they're, it's not like the way it is now, and it's so scary how it is now. But yeah, back then we would run into whoever, and there would be no worries. I re- I remember going to church, and I'm like, I guess that day I didn't want to go into church, and I'm like, I'm gonna be in the car. And then these people saw me in the car, and they're like, "You need to get out of the car." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know how to get out of the car." And so they got me out of the car and brought me into church. I'm like, so funny. I don't know. So back in the day, if we were talking about making America great again, I think that would be what I would consider making America great again, as far as people trusting each other and depending on each other and relying on each other and taking care of each other, not this kind of, not this kind of making America white again. So, but anyway, so Malaysia, Indonesia came over here, and it grew up in the 80s. Some of my friends from grade school and high school are on my Facebook, and it's funny. A lot of people didn't really know how to pronounce our names back then, and when you see a teacher stumble across a name, like they pause, all the kids would be like, Chi Win, Quinn Win, whatever, so cute. Yeah, I think at the time I didn't really see a whole, the kids were, a lot of kids were loving, some kids were kind of mean, whatever, but for the most part, the 80s were good, right? The 80s were very good. The 90s were a little bit okay, a little bit better. The music was not that good, but our lives got better. And then we turned 30s, 40s. It was great. And now I don't know about now. It's very scary what is going on now. And when I see things, how people treat each other now, how our government is treating people now. My back in the day, my family, we were called FOBs, right? Fresh off the boat. We were the boat people. Yeah, you don't hear that anymore, right? Because people have forgotten. Like nowadays, people have forgotten about the Vietnam War, and which is cool. But back then, back in the 80s, we were the boat people. We were refugees, and we we made ourselves who we are, right? So, and we earn what we have. We don't take anything for free. We go to school. We go to school. We pay our own way to school, and we pay our finances. And we are the last generation. Gen X is the last generation of immigrants that paid our debts. We paid all of our debts. We don't take anything for free. We work our way. We work from the money that we have. And I remember even my friends, they're like, they would be like, we would eat ramen until we paid our student loans off, and then we lived our lives. And that is how we live now as Gen X. And the Gen X that I know, we have careers. We don't believe in debts. We pay where everything we owe back to the government. We don't take anything for free. And how people, I guess Americans don't realize that. Like, we worked hard. We worked hard to learn the language. We worked hard to learn English. We worked hard to learn um, the community. We worked hard to learn how to adapt, how to be accepted. We worked hard to learn the rules and to follow the rules. And nowadays, when you see our government not, I rephrase, rewind. I get that illegals, I understand that it's wrong to come over here illegally. I don't support that at all. I do support people like my family who came over here and made a living and worked our way to become citizens and paying our way, paying taxes, doing what we need to do, and not take advantage of anything. I believe in that. And seeing people who come over illegally and take advantage of us, I don't agree with that. But I think we need to find a way to determine. I think, Republican Democrats, instead of, one way or the other, where we send everybody back or we give everybody everything, I don't think that's right. I don't think one or the other is right. I think that we need to find a way to determine what is legal and what is illegal, and how we help immigrants to become working citizens, to become a positive part of our country, instead of giving them stuff so that they take advantage of our country and our taxes and our people. And we have to find a medium on, like, I believe that people come here for growth, to help their families, for financial independence, for financial opportunities. But I think as a country, we need to control how much we give, but also help immigrants to become US citizens so that our country can prosper and grow. Rather than because this country is built on immigrants. All the white people, you are immigrants. Your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents are immigrants of this country. Just like me, just like my family, we're all immigrants. Unless you're Native American, unless you're, you know, indigenous, we're all immigrants here and we made something for ourselves. So what can we do to help the immigrants to become a positive in our community rather than, taking advantage, rather than giving our money away, and encouraging immigrants to take advantage of us. We have to find a way, we have to find a middle ground. Not all immigrants come here to take advantage of Americans, We come here for a better way of life, to escape from communism, to escape from whatever. So, like, it really annoys me um, when Republicans say that if we're going to be democratic, we're going to be communist. Like, seriously, I came from a communist country. There, like, you have no idea what it's like to be a communist, to come from a communist country unless you came from it. So, just because, there are rules, there are rules in America, like there are driving rules, there are rules of how, of working, or, everywhere we go, there are rules. It is to move things along and in a working order. So everything is, working in a way where we're all aligned. Just because we have rules in the United States, that doesn't mean we're communists. Like, all these white people are like, oh, we have rules and we don't have any rights anymore. Yeah, you still have rights, but we still have rules to keep things in order. That doesn't make our country communist. Like, you have no idea what communism is. Why don't you go back? Why don't you go to a communist country, live there for 5 years, and then come back here and tell me how you feel about the United States? I bet you, if you go back to, let's say you go to, go to North Korea, go to North Vietnam, go to Russia, or China, or whatever, any communist country, live there for 5 years, and then come back here. Every country, everywhere you live has rules. That doesn't mean it's a communist country. I would rather live in the United States than any third world country. And maybe Americans are so spoiled and so entitled that they have no idea. They have no idea what it is to actually not have what they want, or to be told no, because they have never they have never suffered in their whole entire lives before. Go to a third world country and then come back and let me know if you think the United States is communism, because, oh, we have rules, you can't do this, you can't do that, because we're here to protect our country. There are rules to protect our country and to protect our citizens. That does not mean that we're communists. These friggin' people. So when I hear white people saying, "Oh, oh, Biden is this," or we have so much worse, we can't do this because we're turning into a communist country. I'm like, are you friggin' serious? Have you been to a communist country? Because I have. And in a communist country, you cannot speak and say certain things at all. At all. So we are not even close to being a communist country. Stupid, ignorant people. Thank you. Ignorant. Stupid, ignorant people. Anyway, maybe I talk so long and maybe I digress. I don't know. But I don't know, let me know what you think. What else should I talk about? What else would you like me to share? I did eat sunflower seeds here again. Sunflower seeds. All right, thank you for tuning in. It is 9:39. I did take my medication. Thank you for hanging in with me. Thank you for joining me. Oh, next time, birthday. Yeah, I have 2 birthdays. Next time. Where's my finger? Next time. Peace out. Bye. Bye, Dan. It's very awkward. My hand is over here, but my hand is over here at the same time. It's so confusing.